we're going record, and I just always hit record and then tell everybody I've just hit record. It's never natural when I do that.
No, it's never natural when you do that. Well, this is why I was saying what you're going to do as an intro, but we just started talking anyway, so...
We always just
start knitting an hour in anyway.
So how are you, dear? You all right?
I'm good. I've survived the floods. Well, I don't live in town anymore, so of course I've survived the floods this time. Yeah. Did you go and have a look at them? I
didn't want to put my microphone in people's faces and go, "How is your misery, people?"
Well, we had a walk around town walls, and all town walls is closed at them because they're doing the gas work. But the bottom of it, have you been down Marine Terrace, down by the English Bridge?
No, I hadn't been to town for about a week and a half. Not really because of the floods or anything like that, but because I've been so busy moving house and stuff.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, but I did go. I went to Colham the other day and I talked to. Sorry, I kind of locked myself to
disconnecting himself there.
I went around Colham and I had a look at the people working really hard. Just the shops devastated that were stripped apart.
Oh yeah.
The guy from the barber on the corner by Greyfriars Bridge. He'd had to rip all his floor up, and there were people cleaning the roads, sandbags being piled up, and it was just devastating to see. But also great to see people coming together.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was like the night before the big second flood happened. It was like the apocalypse in town. It was like everyone was going crazy with sandbags. I had some friends that went to where they get them from, and they had all gone.
Yeah.
So then we had to go to like my work and go and get more sandbags, and ruined my shoes. They're gone.
I think it affected everybody else that wasn't. I mean, obviously people were devastated. A lot of people lost a lot of money's worth of, and a lot of passionate things that they were passionate about.
Yeah. But it really brings people together though.
It does.
When things like this happen, even though it's really sad, but it's amazing how many people care.
Yeah, it is.
Even people who aren't affected.
But it affects everybody indirectly as well, because town is closed. Town is closed and people are losing trade. The traffic's crazy because they've closed off the two bridges. People can't get to work to earn their money.
Yeah. Barbers are shut. My other half looks like he's got a long female locks at the moment. It's appalling.
Well, yeah, it's been bad, but congratulations, but well done to everybody that's kind of stuck in and helped each other. Today we're here with James and Katriona. Oh God, I pulled that out right out of the air. It's been a busy day. And they're from Shrewsbury Streetscape, and we're in the house, a beautiful big house. I love that. Thank you very much for inviting us around.
It's all right, pleasure.
Yeah, just pull that microphone really close to you if you can. Okay. That's beautiful. I like that. Yeah. So thank you for coming on the show. We brought you here because you're doing some amazing things. I saw you on Facebook. Your pictures. You guys are. Let's explain what you're doing. You guys explain to us, because it's unbelievable, I think.
Okay. Well, what I'm doing is starting to record the streets of Shrewsbury in a series of drawings that are semi-architectural, semi-artistic. And drawn in short sections, but then linked together so that you can see whole streets at once. So you can actually see the whole of Wyle Cop in one go.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping to carry on with that, and just little by little, and do most of the main streets in Shrewsbury. And if you like to create a sort of portrait of Shrewsbury.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It is. I really like it. You shared it, Al. You shared it on Facebook, didn't you?
Yeah, I was as soon as I saw it, I messaged you guys.
And I was looking through it, and I was like, oh wow, I really liked it. And as soon as you said that, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go and have a chat with them. I was like right on it. I was like, I've got to come along to this because I've been seeing your work, and it's absolutely amazing. It's the whole. I haven't seen anything like it before. Like, there's obviously been people's interpretations of what they feel should be done, but it's the whole idea. Like, I think we were talking about this before we started recording, because I'm that kind of person that starts talking before we start recording. But it's the whole idea of it, how you do it on the white background, and then you have all these, and you even do it so you even got the angle of, because the cop is extreme. Like, do you know how steep the cop is?
Not as in terms.
I don't know whether you worked it out while doing your drawings.
No, I don't know, but as you say, when you start to draw it, you can see how steep it actually is, and how the buildings step next, next to the other, and obviously the builders had to deal with that quite steep gradient. And I think but I think those are going to be particularly the interesting drawings, are the ones where there's a hill, because you get that contrast between one building and another, and it's interesting how long, for example, they continue a building for before they have to step up, and how shop fronts can start really tall And then by the time you've gone 3 or 4 shops down, they're actually quite low. And then they think, right, now
I've never thought that is so true. I've never thought
we need some headroom now. And there's also varieties between the different approaches of the different period of buildings.
As in say the different architecture as you go up. The different ones.
So the earlier medieval buildings, the floor-to-floor heights just were lower, and so that's often a way you can tell there's been a timber frame building there, even if it's been built in front of later. They've redone the facade. But if you see that low ground to first floor and low floors above, that's usually an indication that it is not, a timber frame building where materials were scarce, and it was all down to the length of the trees they could get hold of, and everything was had to be. Everything was hard work to produce.
Yeah, and I think that really helps in your drawings because you've got these different imagery textures going on from the timber frame, and then you also got the Lion Hotel, which is really, really famous on the Cop, isn't it?
Yes.
Because I saw that on your YouTube channel where you were showing how you draw it. Yeah. It's so we were talking before about even the pencil you use to draw. I did A-level art, and we were the pencil be thrown across the room, but you use one of I call them, what was it you call it? I call them clicky pencils.
Yeah, propelling pencil.
Pencil. Yeah. And because they are so fine, it gives you that detail, doesn't it?
Yes.
That I don't think you would get usually.
It stops you having to sharpen the pencil all the time.
Yeah.
They're consistent, and you can use quite a soft lead, which I do. I use a B or a 2B
because you do quite a lot of the shading and the colour and
the shading's done with the pencil mostly. The pencil crayons I sharpen by hand. You can get coloured leads for propelling pencils, but I think they just work better in the natural coloured crayons.
Is it all with crayons, or the colouring you do, or do you use? Yeah,
it's all pencil and pencil crayons. Which and it's something that I've developed over the years with architectural drawing. As I'm an architect by training, and hence the propelling pencils that's very much an architectural.
I was going to ask, is that an architect's tool?
But pencil crayons not that often used, but it's sometimes used by architects. But it's when you want to develop to make a technical drawing of a building a little bit more easier for someone to interpret and to understand what you're actually proposing. So it is a technique that I've developed in my architectural work.
Yeah.
But here I'm really enjoying it because it's just nice to be able to react to what's there.
Yeah.
And enjoy all the
It's
variety.
enjoying it, isn't it? Yeah. What made you start doing this? Because obviously being an architect, you do look at building quality, but what made you get into drawing them as they are?
It's a good question. I started about it's getting on for a year ago now, in April last year, and before that I'd been wondering about possibly doing a sort of like an illustrated plan of Shrewsbury or a map, maybe a 3D map, and I'd done a few experiments with that, and what was really frustrating me was that to do a map of the whole of Shrewsbury, it's got to be quite small. And then you can't get the detail of the buildings.
Yes.
So then it struck me, well, why not, fuse what I do in architecture, which is draw what are called elevations of buildings.
Yes.
That's a straight-on view of one of the walls with all the windows and doors and so on. Why not combine that? And in a sense, this is a bit like a big map of Shrewsbury, but it's a map of the looking straight on at the buildings.
Yeah.
And there's the space to develop it and to get the detail.
Because they seem 2D, plan. But they're not, because you've got all the shading to show the shadowing, but they are very strictly front-facing.
You're quite right. There's no perspective in them. They are just flat drawings, and therefore the shading's very important to give a sense of depth. And also I have to be quite strict with myself in that the streets that work best are those where the houses and shops come straight down to the pavement.
Yes.
There's no setbacks or... and I wouldn't draw something in the distance. So, for example, if you see the ones of St Julian's Churchyard, I simply draw the wall that's on the street.
And there's nothing.
But I don't draw the church beyond because it would look strange.
It would, because there's no background and
it's set back. So it's going to be more of a project on the everyday buildings of Shrewsbury rather than the big public buildings or the big churches. You could do a separate thing on that.
You say you've been doing this for a year now. How far have you done around Shrewsbury now? How far have you got?
I've just finished both sides of Wyle Cop now.
Wow.
So that's a good one to start with, isn't it?
Yeah, that's been. I've really enjoyed that. It's maybe let's hope there's other. Well, there are other good bits. I know that there's plenty to look forward to. So, but that's been obviously a particularly interesting street because, as we said before,
where are you going? Are you going to continue up the Cop?
Yes, I'm going to carry on High Street.
Yes.
So I've already done one section of High Street on the north side, which is carrying on from St Julian's Church, and. But what I'm going to do now is drop on. Yes, I'm going to carry on that side, so past the square until I get to the bottom of Pride Hill.
Yeah.
And then return to the south side of High Street and work along. Obviously, there'll be a gap where the square is.
I was going to say, is there going to be one day we're going to come in here and all round every single wall they're all going to be connected? Or?
Well, I don't know. Inevitably, they will break down into sections, and you've got to be flexible about. Because when it comes to making the longer images, where what we do is the individual sections are on A3 sections of paper, so they need to be joined together if you're going to then do a print of a whole street, and that has to be done by scanning and then joining them together in Photoshop and then printing them, and which views you select for that is going to vary. It depends. For example, the first one of the north side of Wyle Cop, it was very natural. You started with the English Bridge, and then you went up and stopped at Dogpole. So that that worked well. But even that is 2 meters long, so it's just to get it framed is quite an exercise. But others will be slightly different because what I don't want to do is try and avoid stopping a view like that halfway through a building, but to try and start with a street or an alleyway. And so I don't yet know how High Street is going to divide up exactly, but initially I'm just going to get on with the short sections and see how they turn out.
Well, they're all tying together because they're all quite uniformed in a sense, aren't they? And like we were talking before, how even though it's drawings of buildings around Shrewsbury, which most buildings are quite old, I think, but it still comes across quite modern. I normally find that modern art's quite abstract-y, but this isn't. This is something that you look at and you know what it is. It's none of this interpretation of someone else looking at your artwork, but because that white background, it brings something that's so right in front of you that I find that a lot of people that live in Shrewsbury don't look up. You'll get a lot of people you get people that come here looking around, but they never look around the buildings around them.
And I think that's the main emphasis, isn't it? Your artwork, I mean, from what I get is it's all about the art, the buildings, and what they bring to you. So if there's a gap in between the buildings, I don't know, say Fish Street or something, like let's just carry on with the buildings. It doesn't really matter, does it?
Yeah. And there's a historical element as well, because since you started, James, a lot of the buildings have shut down, the shops have shut. So there's a sort of it's like a snapshot through time of what's happened on the Cop.
And in 20 years' time, you've got to do it all over again and see the difference.
Yeah, so there's a sadness about that and a historical insight into the difficulty that our independent shops have on the Cop.
Yeah.
And what's James is drawing now, you sort of think, but actually a new shop started. So there's a real organic feel. It's not just drawing the pretty buildings, but it's drawing the NCP car park. And actually, one of the videos that got them over 3,500 views was when we posted the NCP image and said, so, what was here before? And posted it on all the other I Love Shrewsbury, I Love Shropshire, all the other community historical groups. And of course, everybody's passionate historians in this town. So many people getting back going, it was Kennings. Yeah. My husband bought his first Mini there. It was Wales and Edwards, garage. They mended Spitfire engines there. And then we thought, but what was the medieval building there? And then Lynn Kesker, who's on, I think it's something like Shropshire Memories, Histories. Anyway, it's a community history website. She posted a really lovely vintage photo of a gorgeous car in the 30s.
Oh, wow.
And this big black and white mansion called Shearer's Mansion, and you just saw this amazing black and white building that looks a bit like Tanner's that would have been where the NCP car park was. So
Does anyone know why it went?
Well, James did then a ghost image. He sort of scaled it out, looked at the photo, and we did this. And I think this is why it's popular. You sort of dropped down the tracing paper image of Shearer's Mansion on top of the NCP.
That's quite upsetting.
And you could see just how it had moved on, what had gone. Before we then moved back up the Cop, but that caused a lot of interest because people were like, whoa, so what's changed?
I think that's why a lot of people now are quite passionate about the buildings that are currently in Shrewsbury because there's been so many of them, like for instance where Lloyd's Bank is now, that building used to look nothing like it does now, and you see it in old photos and you'd be like, but where's Lloyd's? And you're like, that's where it is now. And it's all changed. So obviously when you get round there, if you're going to have to do Lloyd's Bank, and then who knows in so many years what's all going to turn into. It's a bit like documenting, isn't it?
There is a documentary element about it, which again makes it unique in what it's doing. It's at a certain snapshot in time.
What are you going to do about the square when you get to finally do the square? Because there's a historical building right in the middle of the square.
Yes.
Is that a problem for you, or is it?
I haven't really worked it out yet. I think the high street will look after itself in that. I will probably just stop at the square for the high street drawing. So there'll be one length one side of it and one length the other. Could possibly put in the end of the market,
like as an individual
the end of the market
piece
hall, maybe. But as I said, it's not so much about the big public buildings.
Yeah.
So, but I would tend to do. I might do part of the modern building next to the square, but not try and do too much of it, because there's not much point. Because it's quite repetitive. There's no point.
Is that the Starbucks building? Is it?
Yes.
Will you put in Clive of India? Is he on
well, again, I have to think about that.
Putting forward.
Maybe. Yeah, there's going to be lots of questions like that as I go through. But the other side of the square is effectively like a street. You've got, and it's full of variety from the music hall. Right.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
So that'll definitely get done at some point. It's just a question of which streets to do when.
Oh, yeah, because you've got a lot to do if you're going to do.
I know.
Lifetime project.
Well, it is definitely.
I sometimes wonder what I've done. But
I'm now 93.
Are you going to go up Fish Street as well and do the ones on Fish Street?
I'd love to do Fish Street at some point. But I think the priority is to get High Street done.
Those
to do the historical main route through Shrewsbury.
Definitely.
So then maybe get onto Mardle and go down to where the Welsh Bridge used to be, because it's not quite where the Welsh Bridge used to be. Mardle used to go straight down to the Welsh Bridge.
Yes.
And it was then relocated in the 18th
we
century.
were talking to someone, weren't we, so many weeks ago, and they were saying that from the boys' school all the way to, was it towards the library, that used to be mainly grass, and they could walk through the quarry and just continued before those shops got put in there. So it's one of those things, isn't it, changing over time. So that's what I was saying, in like 20 years' time, you've got to do it again. That's what's going to happen.
But that's the way things go, isn't it? I mean, like you saying about that mansion that used to be there before NCP, that's going to happen again, but with Tanner's isn't going anywhere, the Lion isn't going anywhere, but there's beloved businesses on the Cop at the moment that will be in your picture, but in 20 years probably won't be, and they'll be like, oh, do you remember when that was there? Look at it.
Yeah.
What do you work off? Do you spend a lot of time town, photographs, things like that?
It's fairly straightforward. I literally just decide on the street I'm doing, and then literally just walk along, and usually on the opposite side of the street, and then just photograph each shop one at a time. Most of them will fit on one view. Sometimes you've got to take a couple of photographs of one building.
Yeah.
And that, it's as straightforward as that. I then come back, put them on the computer, and then I have that propped up on my board in front of me, so I can keep referring to it as I go.
Fantastic.
And
where did you start?
The Tanners was the first, was the very first section.
Okay.
And then I carried on up Wyle Cop on that side, and then returned. I thought, hang on, I need to be consistent about this. So then I went back and did the section from Tanners down to the English Bridge for completeness. And so I suppose the project was sort of, the Tanners one was it's a particularly nice set of buildings.
Yeah.
And it was a good test piece to see whether it was
going to
work. and also what scale to draw it at. It's not at an accurate scale, but there's a balance between doing it just big enough to get some detail in, but also when you're going to be trying to join them together in a whole street, you make it too big and the whole thing gets out of proportion.
Yeah.
So it's...
have you got to... you can just give us a yes or a no. You don't have to give any specifics, but have you got to a building yet where you're like, I've got to draw this now?
No, I haven't so far. But that's Wyle Cop for you. There's almost no building in Wyle Cop that hasn't got some interest or some quality to it.
And so even with the car park, but now you've said you could do that overlay idea is where the history comes into it, isn't it?
I mean, you could say with the car park building that it's it's a shame that the medieval building has gone that was there. But also, you can say that the designers in the 1930s, they had they did try to make something that you can see there's been some design in it. It's not quite as varied. It's a bigger scale than the other buildings, but there's still some quality to it.
Well, architecture changes, like you would know over time, and what's in and everything like that. And
but I think that with the way things are now, we're going to see probably less radical change. It would be unlikely to go back to, say, the 50s and 60s where there was wholesale change going on because of the listing process now, protections on buildings. And there's going to be more, things will change more slowly in the centre, I would say, apart from, say, things like shops changing.
Yeah.
But the actual
architecture,
an entire building is unlikely to be allowed to be demolished unless there's some very, very good reason.
They've thrown so many boners in town, haven't they? With like the Shire Hall and the whatever building's been especially that monstrosity that's on the corner of High Street by the town square. People hate that building.
Oh a lot of people hate that.
Yeah, above Starbucks. I was going to say, when do you work then? Do you have set times, or are you constantly locked in here doing anything? Is it becoming obsessive, or is it? I don't know. I got a giggle then.
Facebook is becoming obsessive.
That's easily done, very easily done.
I tend to. I do still work as an architect, so that takes up perhaps, say, half my week. Or it depends. I can only have quiet periods, but I would generally work, say, a couple of days a week on it, something like that. And it's nice to be able to be flexible and maybe to work a morning or an afternoon or an evening. It's fairly varied, but I do find that it's quite useful to settle down for a reasonable amount of time. So you if you keep chopping and changing and coming back to it, I think it's
you need to keep that momentum.
You get into a flow after a while when you and I listen to the radio while I'm working and it's quite therapeutic.
It started as a fill-in project, really, didn't it? And you thought, I've got a bit of spare time, let's just do some art. And it's sort of
got a bit out of hand.
Yeah, a bit out of hand, taken on a life of its own.
And
it's a good thing to get out of hand, though, isn't it? I think it's a very positive one.
But I mean, each picture takes, actually, this is where it's sort of a cross between an artwork and an architectural sort of elevation, in that it takes, I don't know how you say, how many hours? It's each one. It's a really long time.
Each section is on an A3 sheet, which is, what would you say that is about in old measurements, roughly 18 inches wide, something like that. And there's not always the same number of buildings, and sometimes some are more complicated than others. But I would say they take between 2 and 3 full days' work to do each one. Sometimes some of them more like a week, maybe. It depends how many hours you. But if you said an 8 hour, 7.5, 8 hour day, you would need certainly 3 days, and possibly more if it's a more complicated.
Because you take quite a I couldn't speak. Then you take quite an architectural take on it. Like, you use a lot of measurements off plans, and you use your tracing papers, so you lay it over. And it's like other people who are artists will just do their interpretation of it, but you try and, it's not so much getting it exact on point, but the way your process of it is, you can kind of see your architectural background
and the compass points.
And the compass points
with the little compass points going.
Oh yeah, through the tracing paper. I saw that one.
It's the dot-to-dot element where you're sort of joining them up. Showing the little points.
I did watch the one where you were finishing off the Lion Garage, the hotel side, where you're just drawing the line. And it's amazing how much difference a line makes, right? Because when you drew that line on that palette, I was like, oh, it's
it's nice to see something being finished off.
I know, it's that finishing bit.
It's a nice feeling. You get to the end and you sort of draw a line under it.
It's when you're wondering who sits at home watching your YouTube videos. It's me and Al. So we're lying in bed, like, oh yeah, you draw that lion.
Have you had any catastrophes? Have you knocked a cup of tea over something, or made a mistake?
Not so far, thankfully.
No.
But you did have one building where you're going, these coins aren't getting right. It's a really tough bit.
You do get ones
counting up the bricks.
When you're doing that tracing paper section where one is trying to get it, it's not measured. So apart from getting things roughly in proportion from the plan, the rest is done by eye working off the photograph. So it's not going to be a historical record in the sense that you could actually scale off it and say that will be exactly that dimension. But I'm trying to get it so it looks about right. It's like doing a portrait.
Yeah.
If you're drawing a person's face and you get something about their eyes or the mouth in slightly the wrong place, it will not look. It'll look like a person, but it won't look like them.
Yes.
It's the same with buildings, although it's a bit easier with buildings. You can get it slightly even more wrong, and it'll still look like the building.
Yeah.
And they don't move.
So it's easier than human portraits.
It's less offensive as well.
Yes, and buildings don't get offended. That's quite true.
It's like putting a fitted sheet on a bed. One corner comes off when you're putting the other on, and
nothing matches up.
Especially with the hill. If you imagine you're working out, you think you've got the heights right, and when you go from one building to the next, there are reference points, like the top of one shop front, say, levels up with the bottom of some windows in the next door house. Well, sometimes you can just do it so you think everything's going through beautifully, and then you suddenly find that you get to the end of a run with a hill. Maybe you've got the angle of the hill just slightly wrong.
That's what I say. How do you
or the
know
height
about
of the first
angle?
one slightly wrong, or you've just got an accumulated error, and you suddenly find, I've only got about a centimetre to do this whole shop front, and then you have to go back and rub out, and that's the beauty of doing it on tracing paper first. You can make your mistakes, mess around with it, and then when you're ready, transfer it through onto the finished paper.
So do you give people options to purchase prints of what you've done so far?
Absolutely, yes.
Where do people go to find these?
Well, at this stage, the best way is just to contact us, and there's an email address on the Facebook page, or on Facebook
page.
Either of those, and then we'll then get it. We can then get in touch and talk about the details.
Because they are quite, because they're so large, but they're not right in your face. But they are, I think they feel in quite, like we were talking about it before, because they're modern pieces. If you had like a big hallway or even like a modern day dining room, they're one of those things, especially if you live in Shrewsbury and you're quite passionate about the town. Because I think Al mentioned it before, like you go around pubs and you'll get like drawings and all stuff like that of local in the area.
Yeah, black and whites of like a high street or somewhere, wherever it's local.
Yeah.
I remember when I lived in Telford, there would always be like an old picture of Dawley High Street, with horse and carriage and things like that. You always see that sort
It's one of those things that it'll never get boring, having pictures of your local town especially. Never get boring.
The panorama one is the one that is its USP, gives its unique element, because
definitely.
I'm not sure if anybody really has like drawn all the Cop or any street really,
Well,
and then
I
photoshopped it together, so you got a 6 foot 2 metre long image which you just sort of have to roll out, and it's the framer said, just listen, no more long street longer than this is just the biggest I can possibly frame. So sort of
was he saying no, or was that a challenge?
Big shout out to Neil. No, he said we love a challenge. In fact, he's in the next few days it will go on display in the Shrewsbury Framing Studio in Frankwell.
Yes.
He's done an amazing job, and he's going to put it up in his windows, so we're going to be posting on Facebook. You can have a look at it. It's going to be in his window.
He's such a great guy, that guy.
He's lovely.
So
and Steve, UK Jeep Clay, it was a really tough job, sort of joining everything together, getting the tone, the saturation right. These guys have worked really hard.
So what are they going to frame it in when they put it in the window?
Well, it'll just be... The trouble is you can't mount it, because can you get a 6 foot long bit of mounting board? No, you can't. So it's just going to be framed very simply.
Yeah.
But you can't really sell an unframed 6 foot long roll of paper. It really needs to be framed.
Do you get to choose type of frame? Was he choosing it? Do you know what colour will complement
You could choose. I mean, we're doing a sort of prototype, and actually one's already been ordered, and so he's doing two at the moment too.
Because I'm guessing if anyone's going to purchase a print, they're going to have to go to him, aren't they?
They will for something that long, certainly. I mean, but we're also sort of selling the smaller A3 ones, but the really unique
I like
ones
the
the panorama ones. But you do
Yeah.
need a big white space. We think it'd be cool.
We were saying about
actually.
That would be quite impressive wallpaper.
We were saying about like the hospital or like a hotel or something that's got a really long
conference rooms or boardrooms or these business parks, and they need a lovely big.
I think even in Theatre 7 they sometimes have art up around there, wouldn't they? Theatre 7 have a lot of like blank spaces.
Yes.
And they might even say put it up there, and then you could put your details of it, just when people, because you see people like with the floods going on, we've been walking everywhere, and especially at night we have all this river going past really quickly, and Theatre 7 is full of people in intervals sitting around, and they sometimes have art pieces around. It might be really interesting in there.
If you wanted us to borrow a piece and put it in our studio, so every time someone comes in we'll be like, here's the details and such.
We have a massive blank wall and he just wants something to go there so bad. He keeps looking at it.
How has the feedback been for this? Has a lot of people got in touch already for you to come and do stuff for them?
We've had one or two orders, not a huge number. It's early days, and yes, one of the panorama ones has been ordered, which is great, and that's we're just going to see that framed. In the next few days that will be delivered. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. And the smaller ones, it was quite nice. We had one order where a lady came in and bought one. And then said, what I'm going to do is, as and when I can afford it, I'm going to come back and get and make a collection. So instead of buying it as because obviously, inevitably, it's more expensive to do the longer ones because of the framing and the printing costs. But the shorter ones,
put them as pieces, art pieces,
so
like a collection.
And with those smaller ones, we felt that it made sense to offer them just unframed, because they're small enough for most people to choose what they want in terms of frame. Yeah. But then you could perhaps have a set of 4 of them going up a staircase.
Yeah.
Or something,
that's a great idea.
Going up the cop staircase.
So they don't physically join together, but you can still see they're part of a set.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, not at all.
As the creator, as the guy who spent hours doing this, hours upon hours, how does it feel for you seeing that big roll of paper being unrolled? Does it fill you with pride? Or...
Yes, it's exciting. I think for me, in a way, it's although I've drawn it, when you see it all joined together like that, it's almost as new to me as it is to anybody else.
Oh, that's nice.
Because I see that street in a new. It's a discovery for me, just as it is, and it's nice to be able to then share that with other people to actually. We all know Shrewsbury is a beautiful town. The buildings are beautiful, but we do tend to see it in a very incomplete way. We walk along a street, we're tending to look in the shop fronts rather than looking up. And even if we look up, we're often looking up at a steep angle, or we're looking along the road.
Yes.
To be able to just see it in a kind of calm way, spread out in front of you, to objectively see how
that's what I quite like about it.
And for me, and I don't see that until it's all joined together. So it's just as much a discovery for me. And so in some ways, it's as much. I thoroughly enjoy doing it, and in a way, part of the reward is just seeing the town
unique
in a
experience for you.
And sharing it. I mean, we just thought we just need a digital platform to sort of share these images. Yes, we want to sell some. That would be nice. But somebody said community Facebook page, and it's just like grown. It's like a little baby. It's gone off in all sorts of directions. We just posted a few images, and then almost immediately a year 4 teacher got in touch and went, this is an amazing resource. I'm doing the historical buildings of Shrewsbury with my year 4s. Can I show them the images? Can I show them that we can show the videos? That's partly why we put it on YouTube, because schools can't access Facebook, obviously, for all sorts of reasons, but they can access YouTube. And then so it's great to feel there's an educational element that our young people in town are going to be looking and just being inspired to draw and make that historical record. So she's really super excited about that. And then it's just sort of bubbled off. And there's people in Australia going, this is my hometown, and it's really special to see this. And then one lady's like, I'm coming to Shrewsbury in May to see my sister, and can I pop round? We went, sure. And we're in Bellevue. She said, oh, my sister's in Bellevue. And then we said, where does she live? She went, Chatsworth Gardens. We went, well, 2 minutes walk away. So it's just crazy, those sort of funny.
Well, I suppose over time you're going to end up drawing people's, like some people live in flats in town, you're going to end up drawing their windows, isn't it, and all things like that.
Yeah, we know somebody who lived above Hokum, and she said, I really want to buy that one because I used to live up.
Have you ever had to ask permission to draw anything, or is it because how does it work? Is it because it's in a public space you can, or do you have to?
I suppose it's all.
I suppose you're doing it.
I'm in the public domain. Standing on a street. I think it's it's like anybody could take tourists are taking photographs all the time. So I guess no, I'm not. I'm
not aware of anything.
And we're tagging the buildings as we go up the shops to sort of hopefully that they can see.
Tourists take pictures all the time, don't they? Of the architectures. I don't think it's anything that anyone's going to come and nitpick about, are they? And even if they do, it's a drawing. You're not posting photos out there.
There's no people in it or anything like that.
What I do find is that as in an architectural drawing, you would draw all the windows in the same way. You wouldn't draw any. You just draw them closed and so on. But with the photographs, what's good is you record a moment in time. It's a hot day. People have opened their windows. They've got different types of curtain, and that means that although the designer of that building made it all symmetrical, people living in it have give it a bit of life. So you can, although there's no people in it, you can see that there's
signs
people
of
living there with all the so the windows are reflecting light in different ways because some of them are open, some of them are closed, and all of that gives life to it, and it's sort of quite random. So it's a bit like the buildings are like. They take on the character of the owners in a way, and they become like a comfortable suit of clothes. They sort of shape themselves to the activities that go inside.
Definitely.
And that's what's quite fun about. And you can see evidence of changes to buildings as time's gone on. The different shop fronts that people choose, the physical. Buildings tend to move with time, particularly timber frame buildings. They bow and they twist when they're drying out, when they're new, and then if things change, they beams sag, and that's one interesting thing is how much these buildings have gone out of. They're no longer horizontal and vertical. They're a little bit more comfortable, and they've sort of shaped themselves into a kind of comfortable.
When you go and take these photos, do you take them all at the same time, or do you sometimes take a couple of photos, but then it's later on in the year? Do you notice much difference in the buildings?
Usually I would do a whole length of street in one go.
Yeah.
But if inevitably I'll get to a point where I've done the whole of High Street already.
Yeah.
But it's true if you take the photographs on different, you've got different weather conditions.
Well, say with the lighting, the shadowing.
But when you think about it, you're looking in different directions all the time with this, and I'm basically, if you've got a curved street, I'm flattening that. So two different parts of a curved street will reflect light in different ways.
Very much, yeah.
And I'm just flattening it out effectively. So what I do is use the architectural convention when you draw an elevation is you imagine that the sun is coming over your left-hand shoulder and then shining roughly at 45 degrees. And that controls the type of shadow you get.
Do you try and take the photos similar time of day?
No, what I have to do there is I use the photograph, but with that particular aspect of it, I will then I will adapt the photograph so that the light...
So it keeps complementing.
When I do the shadows, they're generally consistently drawn.
Yeah.
So that it helps you to interpret if there's a bit that sticks forward, you can see that's a bay window sticking forward, or if there's something set back, a doorway set deep back into a shop front, you can see the shadow. But at the same time, the photographs are great because they also give those random light effects that I often just copy straight through, even if they're not 100% consistent, because it gives that. Life and in the reflections particularly on the reflections on glass windows.
Because they say that would be so hard, especially because you're drawing strictly the front of them. It's not so much a 3D, but it is 3D because you're looking directly from the front, so you don't have any of the sides.
But you're actually freezing the sun, aren't you? You're sort of stopping the sun and making the shadow come down at
consistent.
a set.
So you have to do it consistently. I think otherwise, I think you might get one view where the sun was coming from one direction in one half of it and another direction in the other. So I think that one has to just. In a sense, it's not
bit,
naturalistic in a way.
I was going to say that's definitely is an artistic bit, isn't it? Of it
Exactly. It just helps to give that three-dimensional effect.
You were saying there's lots of interest. From a teacher in school and things like that. Has there been any interest for you to come and do some talks and teach people how to do this sort of thing? Because I imagine your work is going to inspire a lot of young people.
Well, we haven't had anything.
We'll be seeing the teacher tomorrow, actually, and somebody did post on Facebook. Oh, you could ask him to come and chat to your class. So it could go in all sorts of directions. Someone's saying, "Oh, you could do online tutorials on YouTube. You could book the gateway," and James go,
"Be an ex-Bob Ross on YouTube."
Tony Hart,
we weren't originally anticipating doing any sort of. Videos of the work. We were just going to scan or photograph the drawings and put them on Facebook. But Katrina's had that idea of saying, well, let's do a bit more than that. And actually, it's so easy with a mobile phone to record things now and see the actual movement. And so, in a sense, that is a sort of talking about, although it's on video, it's not live.
it's showing the process,
being filmed while working and talking while working. It's a strange experience for me because I'm normally quiet when I'm working, but actually all you're sort of doing is carrying on drawing and then just speaking out your thoughts as you draw.
That must be difficult though, because I mean, on the last show when we were doing the spirograph thing, I did my spirograph, so I drew it all out, and she was like, "Oh, you need to colour it in now." So I got some pens and I was colouring in the individual diamonds whilst the Facebook Live was going, whilst I had a microphone in front of me, and I forgot I was doing a podcast. I was kind of like,
well, that's part of it,
you know, it must be
humming as you work.
Yeah, you know, I was. Rachel would say something, I'd be like, "Sorry, what?"
Yeah. Well, sometimes and so with those videos, sometimes I get to a bit where I just have to stop talking and just draw.
Concentrate.
But oddly enough, people seem to quite enjoy watching just the drawing.
I think people are on that with you, aren't they? They're watching what you're doing, taking it all in.
Yeah, James said, "I'm about to do the lion. Do you want to video?" And I went, "Yeah, sure." He said, "Well, I'm not going to talk." I thought, "Oh, it's going to be so boring." But we posted it, and because I'm now a member of various groups, and they're all being really kind and letting us just like post the images, that one was so popular, and all it was just James going, shh, 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 shh.
But it's such a famous lion.
I know. I love that video because I saw that on Facebook, because you put it on Facebook.
It was the longest,
It was an afternoon. I was sat there with my laptop just kind of looking for things. This is what I do. I just browse for things. And I saw that video. And the moment I saw it, I messaged you straight away. I was like, let's do something. And you were like, yes. It was just so inspiring to see. And I imagine there's lots of, like you said, lots of people around the world, in Australia, around America, expats that have moved away, that are probably just delighted to see those videos, because you're recreating something that's in their head, you know, memories of their town. It's beautiful. I love that.
Yeah.
So in a way, the Facebook page has become, as well as a way of showing the work, it's also developing into something else, because people are able to contact us and talk about the history of buildings or the stories connected to them, which is great. But and at the same time, this thing about teaching, there is an element of, in doing a video like that, not necessarily telling people how to do it, because all artists have their different way of approaching things, but it's giving ideas and saying, well, this is how I go about it, and that might then, you know, encourage somebody else to have a go or do something similar or do it in a different way. It doesn't matter. But I think about the process.
Will understand that this is your interpretation anyway, won't they? You know, so it's just it's a light bulb, isn't it? You see that and you're like, oh, that's a brilliant idea. I'm going to do it in Crewe, where I live, or, you know, and that's what you've created ultimately.
Yeah, you could go around the country. Yeah, our very ambitious 24-year-old son goes, "You should go to London, you should go to Cambridge."
Yeah, London's been done.
You know, we're going,
but you know somebody else,
somebody else can
I think
do
life
that.
is too short to do.
This is a lifetime thing anyway, doing the
I think you end up doing a large majority of Shrewsbury. It's going to be very impressive, isn't it? It's one of those
Somebody said Shropshire Archives should get this, but, you know, I suppose what photography can also record, so
it can,
but it's true that they were highlighting the sort of documentary historical, you know, snapshot element. So anyway, it's a whole, it's its own being. It's taking on its own.
So have you done anything like this before you started this project? Because obviously we're sitting in here and you've got other art pieces up, but have you done anything like same style you're doing these drawings?
The nearest would be my architectural work, where I'm doing a presentation drawing to show what a building is going to look like.
Okay.
And where I might take one, you know, a wall of a building, a new building, and if you just did it in ink or pencil lines, for most people it would just look very flat, and it couldn't really, you wouldn't get a sense of what it was made out of. So the technique of using pencil and pencil crayon is one I've developed to try and show people what the materials, it's not exactly literally true, but it's given them an idea of what the brick is going to look like against, you know, the windows, what the tiles or slates will look like.
Taking the image from your head and putting it on paper.
So that's where the techniques are being developed, definitely.
So James doesn't use CAD or sort of any computers at all for his architectural work. So still a real old school architect there.
So you're still working as an architect, aren't you?
Yes,
drawing board, no computers at all, which is really quite rare now. Well, that's just how.
Well, I do use computers for certain purposes, but and I can scan things and email them. But for the actual creative part of it, the drawing and the designing, that I find, for me, I think by drawing, and actually as your hand moves with a pencil on the paper, it's helping you to think, and you've got a dialogue going where you put something down and then you're then criticising it and then changing it.
Well, it's like what you said when you're drawing this. You realise there's so much more that you've missed out when you're drawing the cop. There's little details that you didn't notice. And I suppose it's the same in your architecture, isn't it? Yeah. Those little details.
That you can imagine so much in your head, but it's such a help to be able to put it down on paper, so it becomes then something separate from you. That you can, it's no longer in your head, it's on the paper, and then you can say, well, what do I think about that? It's not quite how I imagined it. Let's try changing this or try changing that. But that's about the design process, which is slightly different. With the Streetscape project, I'm reacting to what's there.
Yeah.
In design, you are trying to make something that's not there, but you're using all your memories and everything else to bring them together to make something new. That you hope is going to fit in, create a building that will continue a tradition, be nice for people to use, but you therefore you've got to go through a process there of drawing options and then rejecting them, developing them. And the best thing to do there is you get it down on paper and you keep everything you do, because sometimes you find that in the end the right thing is a mixture of a number of ideas you've had previously.
Oh, fascinating.
Do you think
it's very important not to throw anything away.
I want to know, are you going to give town walls a go? Because obviously up there you've got different ages of buildings and you've also got the cathedral. And
I think town walls would be a really good one to do. I don't think, obviously, I don't think there's a lot to be gained by trying to do the actual medieval town wall.
Oh, okay. Not that side of it.
Because in the end, and it'd be quite hard to get down there to actually see it. But the other side, I totally agree with you. You've got the cathedral and the Roman Catholic Cathedral and various other buildings along there.
Will that be hard to get the perspective though? Because you can't get back further enough to look at the buildings.
It could be quite tricky. And this is one of the problems with this.
Selfie stick.
The taller buildings, when you've got a narrow street, you can't see the detail of the roofs and the chimneys very well.
Yes.
And you get the camera tends to make everything diminish, so it's quite hard to get into proportion.
Because it goes from the cathedral and you go round to it has those older houses that they had in the Christmas Carol that was filmed in Shrewsbury, doesn't it?
Oh, the Crescent.
The Crescent.
It goes all the way around to those. So they're all quite. I think they all tie into. Obviously, near the start of town walls, you've got like the more modern take on things. You've got some new flats, but then it's.
Yes.
I was just interested in the cathedral mainly. I think.
I think, I'll just have to look at each bit as I go along and work out what's going to make. Because in the end, it's nice to show the variety and show some modern buildings, but equally, there's no point on a whole section having total repetition the whole way along. So one's just got to.
I quite enjoy seeing the contrast in the ones that you've done with the different eras and everything like that.
That's the beautiful thing about Shrewsbury, though, isn't it? No building's the same, is it? I think it'd be a great project. Not to add to your work, but you're doing a fantastic job. But
we keep throwing them out there now.
A panoramic drawing of because I went on the rooftop tour with Stan Sedman on the market hall, and he was telling us about the rooftops and what certain dials mean and things. To stand there and just do a complete panoramic straight picture of that would probably take a long time, but it'd be beautiful to do.
The rooftops.
Yeah.
Well, you were talking about your artwork before, Al.
I'll do it.
Are you volunteering?
I'll do it. It'd be like it'd just be triangles.
Just put a bird in there for a fact. It'd be fine. Yeah.
Now, Katrina, it's your job to take what James is doing and tell the world about it. How has that ordeal been for you?
Well, it's been a steep learning curve because James doesn't have a mobile phone. We only started this literally, it's about a month ago. I'd just done this digital marketing free course at the university with Google guru Lucas Caremo, and it was a fantastic free set of 6 sessions about just the whole thing of digital marketing. And I really didn't think I would use it, but I thought it's free, it might be interesting. And then when we thought, okay, so how can we tell people about this project? Because James has done sort of oil paintings and shows before, and we've sold prints, but sort of not really sort of taken off hugely. But we thought, let's just start a community Facebook page. Let's just post the images. And then one of the sort of bits of advice from said Google Guru was make it content rich. And it was all about putting on little videos. So we thought, oh my word, smartphones, such good quality now. Let's just put on some little videos. And
it's worked out well, though.
Yeah, so that was
it?
interesting. And our teenage children and our uni children are just like, oh, the quality's terrible and your hand's wobbling. And I'm thinking, I need a gimbal. And I'd never heard the word gimbal before, but I'm thinking maybe it ought to. So, yeah, so it's just sort of taken on a life of its own, really. We just sort of posted the images. We're sort of playing catch up because James, we've got quite a few, but we're just trying to spread them out. And then we thought,
it's good that you got the content, though, because that's what you need, isn't it? Especially so that it takes quite a while and it's a steady project.
It will slow down.
But having that content, you've got it there ready to show everyone when need be.
And then people have been really kind about, I think once you get a certain number, because then you can post on other and share on other sort of community pages
doesn't
as
it
well.
Now?
And
if you've only been on for a month, then how many followers?
Well, we're just about to hit 400 today or tomorrow.
In a month, that's very impressive.
That's a lot of assiduous sharing.
So tell people where it is. So everybody that's listening to this now, pull out your phones and follow.
Have a look. Yes, it's Shrewsbury Streetscape Project Facebook page. So it's there. You can tap in Shrewsbury Streetscape and then it'll come up. And obviously there's a YouTube channel as well. Do click, like, subscribe. I just met a really lovely lady on the last session of this digital marketing thing, and she was the one who's going, you ought to be telling Karen Dash, you ought to be telling Pentel, you ought to be doing a YouTube channel, Instagram. Everybody's like, you need an Instagram channel, but obviously we're waiting for said teenager to come back and set that up because she's very keen to be involved with that.
Instagram is great, obviously, because it's visual, but to fit what you're doing into a square image would be quite difficult, wouldn't it?
Yes.
But I mean, some time-lapse videos maybe.
Yeah, this is what Eleanor's, our daughter's, really keen that we should do time-lapse. But then doesn't that speed it up? And the whole point, this is like, we've Shrewsbury's, Shropshire's slow food. This is just slow video, very slow drawing.
I can just imagine some guy sat in a comfy chair, right, with a roaring fire, he's in a smoking jacket, a glass of cognac. I'm getting ready for James' drawing tonight.
I know.
Sit and enjoy.
Yeah.
Slowly doing the curves and the lines.
It's like a Facebook Live.
My hands would be, I know. Just think, well, how long could the videos be? But
you should honestly, right? Genuinely, you should do a full session, like if it's an hour, 2 hours, people will watch it. People sit on you. They listen to videos of people zipping and unzipping things for like 4 hours straight. I'm telling you.
Yeah. Like people listen to us. So they're going to come watch you.
I was just thinking, I do a music club at Colham Primary, and I was thinking we're doing Combine Harvester's song for Harvest. And I thought I'd just go online and I'll just listen to the sounds that Combine Harvesters make, thinking it'd all be clickety click type stuff, but actually it was pictures of German combine harvesters just going up and down a field for about an hour, and it was being marketed under white noise, and all it was shh. And I thought, no, that's not the combine harvester sound I want. But it was amazing.
Yeah, it's very interesting. All these different, harvesters. Like you mentioned, that all these different sounds. It's like there's an artist called a singer called Billie Eilish.
Yeah, we've heard.
And she uses a lot of different noises. Like in one of her songs, I think it's Bad Guys. The beeping in the background is actually recording of a pedestrian crossing in Australia.
No way.
It's all these different things. And there's another song where the noise in the background is actually the noise that she makes when she takes her retainer out of her mouth.
No way.
And they caught it on microphone. So there's all these different things that people go on to see. And there's all these things that people find interesting that you think, oh, that wouldn't be interesting. But there's a lot of people out there who are like, take on all this information.
Yeah, and
isn't
YouTube
it?
is the go-to place
it is,
now, isn't it?
It's a free platform.
How to do
isn't
that.
It?
I think there was something in the paper yesterday saying 16 to 24-year-olds spend 73 minutes a day on YouTube, and it's where most people go now for how to do things, tips, DIY advice, cooking, how to cook a cake, etc.
It's always the first place to go to for like IKEA, because the instructions they give you are useless. They're useless.
I'm one of those people that always has bits left over. Yeah.
YouTube, done, Well, look, what you guys are doing is fantastic. I love what you're doing so much that I instantaneously messaged you as soon as I saw the video.
Your first kid's off the block, actually, because other people are coming to interview and chat.
I absolutely know that.
But your first one's out. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, first one's in.
You always say that biscuit first, isn't it?
Well, we beat the BBC. First. Katie Rink catch up. I'm just.
What was it you say? Biscuit before BBC, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's
biscuit before BBC. We'll get flags and banners made. Biscuit before BBC. We love the BBC and we love Katie Rink, but you are going to get a lot of attention because people love this town, and what you're doing represents this town. So I wish you the best of luck, and I know you're going to get lots of interest. Your Facebook is going to blow up, I guarantee it. It's going to blow up. It's going to blow up. People love it. Have you got any messages for people? Where can people find you? Have you got anything coming up that you'd like to tell people about?
Ooh, I'm not sure if we can share stuff yet, but
give us an exclusive.
I know we like this stuff.
Well, we know. I think we can say Shropshire Magazine is interested. We're chatting to Tanners. There's things bubbling up there.
Oh yeah,
because of course theirs was the first image we did.
I see Tanners has a nice long window in there,
Shrewsbury Bid is sort of interested. Jonathan Soden's been really, really supportive. And
it's good to get in contact, how the magazine's got in contact with you, because that's how a lot of people are going to see you, isn't it?
So we're just not trying to rush into it, but it's gradually, there is a sort of momentum building, and let's just see where it goes, really.
Yeah, you don't know what's
really
going to happen.
It's sort of going off in all sorts of directions that we...
All good directions, though.
All good directions. Yeah, all very exciting. Something will be out and around about it just before Easter. Can't say anything more. But,
well, you know what, guys? Keep your eyes peeled. Give their Facebook page a like. Watch some of their YouTube videos, because they are fascinating, aren't they?
Yeah, I do like
great. Them. And well done, James. You're a genius. You're a genius. I know nobody likes to hear that, but you are. You're a genius.
No, we don't want to say, actually, with the 400 people now basically following, we've had such lovely comments. People have been so supportive and sharing.
It's all happened very organically as well, hasn't it? People who actually want to be part of it.
People have just been really up for posting and just being appreciative, and I think that's a real encouragement to James, sitting there drawing with his little orange pencil, to have people going, that's so cool, because he's not had that before. So
I think it's good. It's really encouraging, and although I think I would carry on doing it for my own amusement, it is great to have that encouragement, and to think that other people actually are interested as well, and that's been brilliant. And I think that'll just help me. You'll give me the impetus to hopefully keep going.
Yeah.
I think it's going to, in a way, in terms of producing. We've got, as Katrina said, we've got quite a lot of work that's already been done since April. Both sides of Wyle Cop and so on. And so that's being posted fairly fast. We're going to get to a point when it actually drops into a natural rhythm of what we post will be as it's being produced. So slow down a bit and sort of calm down.
But by the time you slow down, you're going to have enough people following you and everything, like someone seeing your content. Isn't it?
It's knowing when to stop as well. Because imagine you've done it now. You've done all Shrewsbury, and you're like, no, I'm on my way to Wem. I'm going to Wem.
Well, how long is it going to take? I have no idea to get to the end of Shrewsbury.
It's an adventure, isn't it? It's a long adventure.
So next time we speak to him, we'll be doing Ludlow. He's got that far.
But I think, I regard Shrewsbury very much as my hometown, and we might say, well, why not do London, or why not do another street? And in the end, for me, Shrewsbury has, because I live here,
well,
and for me, it's it's a nice way of just responding to the place where you live and appreciating it. And it wouldn't be quite the same as doing somewhere where one doesn't live there. You can still do it. But I think when it's somewhere that you've known all your life, and you've grown up with and you love,
and it's such a beautiful town on your doorstep,
and it's something that you can react to, and it's a way of expressing one's enjoyment of the place.
Yes.
And you're drawing these buildings on a sunny day as well, which is very optimistic, especially with the weather we've had recently. Well, look, we've just done an hour, and I think we should tie the knot there. But thank you so much for inviting us around your house, letting us set up in this beautiful room. Thank you, Deedee, for coming as well.
That's all right. I had to come. Yeah. I got a bit overexcited. I'm sorry.
No. It's been a while since we've recorded, so it's been nice, actually.
Oh, yeah, we haven't done one together for a while, have we?
No.
He's been selecting the others over me. That's what's been happening.
I did one by myself yesterday because Julie was going to come, but she was like, oh, God.
And I was busy. I was busy caking, as I always do. Yeah.
But we're fully back in flow now. And you know what, guys? I forgot to mention mention it at the beginning of the show, but you should definitely check out our sponsors, by the way. Gin Different. They've got a gin bar at the top of the Market Hall. Sorry to do this, guys. I have to do such a great talk about, but they do have a great bar at the top of the Market Hall, and they sell an extensive array of gins, especially the ones you can't quite get in Asda and Tesco. Make sure you can check them out. They've got Facebook and Instagram too, so check them out. You can listen to our audio directly off our website too, which is at www.theshrewsburybiscuitpodcast.co.uk. That's lovingly made for us by our friends at Web Orchard. It looks great, sounds great, so check that out too. Have you guys got a website yet? Or?
Needs to be done. We know we need a website. No. So
check out Facebook and YouTube, Instagram soon to come.
The website will come, because we know you can't really sell anything off Facebook. Really, you need a sort of landing page, as I gather it's called, to actually buy some stuff.
Well, check out Web Orchard. They're great. But anyway, thank you very much for joining us, guys.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll catch you guys next time. Thank you.